doing over here?
I'm reconnecting the last mile for a business customer.
You need a wire for that?
Yes, kiddo, you have to have a wire for the last mile.
For years, we believed that the internet connection to our business must be a hardwired physical connection, just like our telephones used to be. We've had choices such as coaxial cable, what a cable TV uses, DSL through old copper telephone lines, or fiber optic. These all work well, but require the local telco to run wires to your business. This is done by either stringing them in the air or burying them underground. This is an expensive process, and you potentially have to wait weeks for your connection. Wireless connections give you the internet access without the hassle and without the long delay. You order the service, your wireless router arrives within 2 business days. You plug it in, and immediately you have connectivity, Wi-Fi, and Ethernet.
All right, what an educational video right there. Welcome everybody to Channel Vision Magazine. In particular, our webinar featuring ConectUS Wireless Communications. Today we're going to explore the new last mile, how to win revenues by utilizing cell tower technologies. I'm your moderator, Brady Hicks, the managing editor for Channel Vision. And joining us are your hosts for today. First off, we have the Director of Sales, Engineering, and Marketing with ConectUS, Neil Farquharson. How you doing, Neil?
I'm doing well, Brady. Thank you. It's great to be back on Channel Vision. Thanks again for the invitation.
Well, we're so excited to have you back. We also have with us Corey Hinkle. Corey is the Director of Channel Sales with the company. What's going on, Corey?
Hey there, Brady. Great to be here.
It's a very exciting thing, and I think we're all going to learn a little bit more about the new last mile here today. Now, guys, before I turn it over to these gentlemen, I want to remind you of 2 quick things. First of all, if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, simply go to the Q&A icon at the bottom of the page there. We'll field those questions after the presentation is over. I also want to remind you that ConectUS will very generously, they'll be giving away 2 Motorola smartphones during this webinar. So to be eligible, you'll need to stay logged in through the duration. So you are going to want to stick around. All right, with all that said, I'm going to turn it over to Neil and Corey. Neil, tell us all about this last mile.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brady. So the last mile is technobabble for connecting your business or your clients' businesses to the network. So the network could mean the internet, but it could also be a private network. It could be a VPN, voice calls. You may hear the term VoIP, voice over IP, or even voice over LTE. It can mean video conferencing like that we're doing just now, remote security cameras or IoT, the Internet of Things. Yeah. So many things can be done on the network. Let me share one of my screens just now. Here we go. So, what you're going to discover today, and thank you for joining us, everybody, is that you can do just the same with the wireless last mile that you can do with the wired last mile. So for years, we believed that the wire connection is absolutely necessary for that last mile, bringing it in the internet from the street to the side of your business or to the side of, say, a residential home. Like the lady said in our video, we could be using coaxial cable, or we could be using fiber in the road. We could be, in the road, we could be stringing it from telephone lines, lampposts, if you like. Here's a coaxial cable before it's distributed into the office building. I think I have another slide here. The last wire choice is DSL, which comes into your office via a twisted pair, the same as the old telephone wiring. Some of you may remember 25 years ago when AT&T chose DSL, digital subscriber line, for the last mile. This is what this is, while Verizon invested in PON, that's fiber optic networking, or later GPON, gigabit passive optical networking, right to the wall of the building. All of these installations are very, very expensive, and you'll potentially have to wait for weeks or months unless the infrastructure is already there. Let me stop sharing if I can find the right button. Here we go, stop the share. So my advice to you would be, if you are a small business and you need connection to the internet and it's already wired up, by all means use it, because it's not going to cost any money. Or if you are a channel partner who's selling to small businesses that already have wired connections to their business, go ahead. So what we're really talking about is a new opportunity for all of you to upsell, cross-sell to new prospects who are perhaps outside of the city limits or perhaps even rural. So wireless connections give them internet access without the long wait. At the moment, if they want a wireline service, they have to order the service, the router arrives and it takes quite a while, etc., etc. So the difference with a wireless connection is that you can order it without the long wait. You can be connected within 2 business days if you don't already have a wireless router. But if you have a wireless router, and here are 2 examples, by the way, if you already have one of these, if you bought it, this is one from Verizon, and this is one from ATEL, yeah? And they both do really the same, they both do the same thing. And you plug them in, you wait for a couple of minutes, the lights stop flashing, and you've got a solid, strong internet connection. And by the way, you've got lots of Wi-Fi connections inside the office with these, but both of them, what they both have in common is that they both have 2 or more Ethernet connections as well, RJ45s. So if your customer, if you particularly want to have wired Ethernet, all you have to do is plug it into a regular 8-port, 12-port, 24-port, Ethernet switch, and you can distribute, Ethernet around the office as well. Now, Brady, I want to compare specifications and to explain why the wireless last mile is right for your prospects. But first, I'd like to ask Corey for clarity, just to confirm some of the applications that will run on the wireless last mile. Over to you, Corey.
Thanks, I appreciate it. And honestly, there are so many use cases for this. We'd be here for hours on end going over every single one. So I'll try to simplify it to my top choices here, right? And you'll laugh when I say this as a younger fellow here, but I still remember, honestly, when smartphones were first coming around in 2007, 8-ish era, when the very first iPhone released and so forth, with all the applications, right? There were base amount of like 5 or 6 built-in Apple apps on there. Now we're spoiled to where we have dozens, if not hundreds, depending on the level of addictiveness you have on your cell phone, right? So, the sky's the limit as far as applications go and processes available. So too with network operations, right? And the functionality that's enabled by the network. So like I mentioned, I'm going to highlight a few of them here. I'm going to list them out and then obviously circle back and talk on each point. But first we have communication and collaboration. We also have data storage and access, data analytics and decision-making, customer service and support, supply chain and inventory management, cybersecurity, that's a biggie, financial transactions and digital payments, another large one, and the fun one, IoT, the Internet of Things, that we'll spend some time on here shortly. But circling back to the top of the list here, we'll kick off with communication and collaboration, right? Very basic email messaging apps, right? Video conference like we're doing right now on Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, the vital essentials for businesses' day-to-day operation, especially in the post-COVID world where most of us are now working remotely. Additional collaborative platforms as well, such as Slack, Asana, and Monday that allow you and your teams to work together, tracking projects, managing tasks from locations on site and or in office. Certainly to our second option, data storage and access, right? Think cloud computing, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, allow businesses like yours and any others to store your data remotely, enabling access to your data from anywhere you're on the go. We also have, right, file sharing services like Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive. VPNs, right? Virtual private networks for those of you new to it. They enable your employees to access company resources, drives and such remotely, but most importantly, securely. And then also if you have customer relationship management, CRMs, applications as well will run on that too. Our third line here, data analytics and decision making. So with that, we have business intelligence modeling, such as analyzing trends, customer behavior, performance metrics, and using tools like Tableau and Power BI. Yep, those work too. Likewise, predictive analytics and marketing research tools, everything you need to track your customer preferences, right? We also have customer service and support, which is a biggie, right? If you're running your business. Chatbots and virtual assistant works, right? Customer support platforms like Zendesk, Freshdesk, to allow your business to manage customer inquiries, tickets, and feedback efficiently. Likewise, your social media engagement with your customers, right? But we know if you don't have a good social media platform, the likelihood of your business taking off and gathering additional revenue and gathering additional feedback is very low. So maintaining customer satisfaction and loyalty is a key aspect here. We also have supply chain and inventory management. Platforms like SAP and Oracle will work perfectly. Logistics and tracking work. Supplier management to help you manage your supplier relationships, your orders, and your invoicing. One of the main topics here, cybersecurity, right? That's on everybody's radar now, unfortunately, as that has continued to rise as technology evolves. But your existing firewalls, your encryption, intrusion detection systems will all continue to work seamlessly. Likewise, identity and access management. These are the tools that ensure only authorized employees can access your sensitive data. And then also ties in with that, compliance management. If you need to comply your PCI, your FERPA, your HIPAA compliances, depending on your verticals, they do not change whatsoever. And then we're talking the money now, financial transactions and digital payments, right? I mentioned PCI earlier. Your business can continue to use online banking for secure transactions, managing funds and payroll, right? Because we don't like to work for free. And then also payment gateways for e-commerce also continue to work with this. And then the grand finale, drum roll please. We have IoT, the Internet of Things, which is a personal favorite of mine. IoT enables real-time monitoring. For those of you not too familiar with it, please reach out to ConectUS in the future to discuss this because there's a lot of value and opportunity here. But IoT, for those of you, it enables real-time monitoring for machinery, products, environmental conditions, useful in sectors like manufacturing, retail, healthcare. A live example, myself, I'm in Southern California right now. IoT devices have been vital with the fires going on currently here in Southern California. So again, just many other use cases available for this. But businesses use IoT devices, again, for automating lighting, heating, security, creating efficient and safe workplaces and environments, right? And Brady, these are just honestly a few of the benefits. Like I said, we'll be here all day, and it'll likely be into channel partners by the time we're done discussing this. But these are some of the benefits of wireless last mile. To reinforce what Neil has already said, the wireless last mile connects your business to the same networks, the same backbone as traditional wires last mile.
Well, thanks a lot for that, Corey. Obviously, IoT is a huge it's become a big buzz acronym in the industry today. But for those maybe who are not as familiar with IoT, could you kind of give us some examples of it?
Absolutely, right? I was waiting for that. So the Internet of Things essentially is a monitoring and control system, such as think opening your garage door automatically, right, for Amazon deliveries, or switching on the office heating remotely. However, these are typically enabled by public internet and the home or office Wi-Fi, depending on your location, right? What's special about IoT is the cell tower technology aspect. Let's say you have a customer with a liquid tank. Instead of having a truck roll out there to measure the contents, you can do it remotely. IoT checks the liquid level on a regular basis and reports back to you on your tracking system, right? So very easy, very efficient, cost-effective, right? This means that You only need to send out a truck when needed for maintenance and other aspects of it. Likewise, preventative maintenance. A vibration meter, thermocouple can monitor the condition of remote equipment and report when a threshold is met. This means parts can be replaced before a breakdown. Or if you have a display or electronic billboard, right, especially here in LA, right, billboards everywhere, IoT can allow you to remotely change the display, message, and so forth with, again, not having to use manpower and rolling out a truck for such.
All right. Thank you, Corey, for that. Now, Neil, in the very beginning, you kind of promised to explain why the wireless last mile is right for the folks who are watching. Would you be able to jump into that now?
You betcha, Brady. Thank you. So, you told me, Brady, we've really got two audiences just now. We've got the end business users who will be interested in purchasing this kind of solution, particularly if they are outside the city limits or rural. In other words, if there isn't already wireline connectivity. And then we've got the channel partners who are thinking to themselves, this could be an extra revenue stream for us. These have been potential prospects, customers we've not been able to sell to before. Now we have a solution, we can start doing business with them. Okay, so I mean, Brady, let's just make a joke for a minute. I've been in the States now for 22 years, and I know my accent has not changed. And the funny thing is, when I go back to Scotland to visit, they say I sound like a Texan. Yeah, but one of the first impressions I had when I arrived to live here in the United States was how incredibly good Americans are at marketing, right? And the marketers have managed to convince us all that we need more and more and more bandwidth. But they don't call it bandwidth, Brady. They call it speed to try to bamboozle us.
Well, I'd be really interested in hearing that Texas accent, Neil, but maybe some other time.
So I promise not to go down too many technical rabbit holes today, but I have to tell you, the speed of signal propagation down a coaxial cable is round about 2/3 of the speed of light in space, okay? So the telephone wire or DSL, again, is copper. It's roughly the same, about 2/3 of the speed of light. And so it is the propagation of light in fiber optic cables, silicon fiber optic cable. So consequently, you cannot increase the speed of your connection. So all these marketers who keep telling you, you need more speed, you need more speed. Not true. You can't change the laws of physics. And I almost did an impersonation of Scotty from Star Trek there, but I'll resist the temptation. So the only way that you can reduce lag time is by shortening the distance the signal has to travel, the distance along whichever of these medium the signal has to travel. And that is why the big investors pay to have the shortest possible distance to the stock market, to the stock exchange computers, so that their purchase order comes along a shorter wire and their order arrives nanoseconds or picoseconds before their competition, and they then make the big money. So what I'm saying for us normal human beings who don't sit out there on the stock market, and to business owners, is that 30 megabits per second travels at exactly the same speed as 300 megabits per second. You cannot get more speed. So if you're paying for 1 gigabits per second or even 2.5 gigabits per second, which seems to be some, in many of the new Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 routers, you're probably paying too much. Your customers are paying too much. So the marketers have misled us into thinking that we need more and more bandwidth. And I mean, if you're able to do after this, don't do it right now, please, but keep listening to me. But I mean, go away and have a look at your own router statistics, either in the office or your home router, and just see the bandwidth that's getting used by it versus its potential. So mine scrapes along at 5 to 10% of capacity, download and upload. And I mean, even just now when I'm using a 4K camera with you and I'm receiving the signal back as well, I'm not going to look at it right now, but I bet you good money that my internet connection is using way under 5% of the capacity that it's capable of. you know? So I want to give you some bandwidth estimates. And by the way, I should thank Corey for giving all these examples. And of course, there are far, far, far more uses for the network as well. So web searching, Brady, 330 kilobits per second, 330 kilobits per second. Okay, a VoIP call, a voice over IP telephone call, is 1 megabit per second. Cloud computing, cloud backup, data transfer, internet banking, running social media, uploading larger files, Excel files, etc., and so forth. 2 megabits per second is all you need. HD video conferencing, just like I mentioned a moment or two ago, 4 megabits per second. Yeah, that's HD with several users at the same time. So now let's say, Brady, that you've got 5 to 10 users, and they're doing things like file sharing, online point of sale, transactions, credit card transactions, video streaming. They would require about 75 megabits per second, And let's say heavy use now. Let's say heavy use, maybe 15 to 20 users in the same office. Perhaps a network server hosting something like e-commerce, an e-commerce store, or a client portal, plus frequent video conferencing. 250 megabits per second is all that you would need with these 15 to 20 users.
That's really interesting, Neil. So what devices are you kind of recommending to people?
So, there are many companies offering wireless last mile from the cell tower, including Verizon, and I mentioned Verizon just a few minutes ago. By the way, Verizon's got a large portfolio for different uses as well, as indeed do ATEL as well. And, companies come from, in addition to ATEL, who are in Fort Worth, by the way, Teltonika is over there in Lithuania, one of the little Baltic states that joined NATO 20 years ago. And Cradlepoint is over in Boise. I'm in Idaho just now. Boise's on the other side of the state from me. And Cradlepoint is now owned by Ericsson. So there are a lot, Brady, of CTT, cell tower technology solutions, wireless solutions, if you like. And I want to differentiate between wireless and Wi-Fi. They are not the same. Wireless, always in our industry, wireless refers to connections to the cell tower or to a cell node. Wi-Fi is a different protocol using usually different frequencies as well. Okay, so I wanted to show another slide, and while I find the right place to share this, there was a question came in that I'd like to answer, and I can see out the left-hand eye here. Anonymous attendee, welcome, Mr. Anonymous. What are typical speeds that you can receive via wireless? So I'm hoping you can see up here in the screen this diagram that I put together a couple of months ago. Okay, so the first of three, there are three flavors essentially of wireless connection for high-speed network data, if you like. And the first is LTE, and it stands for long-term evolution, kind of another silly marketing term that's probably seen its day. Most of us would call that 4G or fourth generation. Okay, so 4G wavelengths. So if we're looking over here on the screen here, you may recognize some of these wavelengths here that have gradually been loaned from the government or certified from the government. 700 megahertz, 850 megahertz. And even though these are in gigahertz, they're usually quoted in megahertz, if you like. So they all started out as 4G. Some of them carry 5G, sometimes called 5G nationwide, if you like. And these will all support good quality wireless last mile bandwidths of 50 megabits per second. So more than good enough to look after any small business or any remote office that's situated in the countryside or outside the city without that wire line, that wired infrastructure. Okay, so to answer the question from Mr. Anonymous, 50 megabits per second, and I gave you all these examples, more than enough to support a small business or a remote office of many if the business has many offices. Okay, now, what else did I want to say? I wanted to talk about mid-band. Mid-band is sometimes called C-band. It uses frequencies of around 3.7 to 4 gigahertz if you like. Okay, C-band. It comes under the umbrella sometimes of ultra wideband, but this is a specific set of wavelengths, as I said, around about 3.7 to 4 gigahertz, and it offers at the moment up to 200 megabits per second, Okay, so more than enough for, say, 15 users, if you like. And it covers this kind of distance. As I said, the last mile is within 1 mile. So the last one I want to talk about is millimeter wave. Millimeter wave, also called sometimes high band. And it, at the moment, is enabled by 28 gigahertz. This one will only work with line of sight, maybe with one corner or maybe just slightly off of line of sight, but at a distance up to 1/3 of a mile. Now, Verizon, for example, certifies this at the moment with one of these boxes, but usually attached to an external antenna, then bringing Ethernet down to an internal box. They certify up to 400 megabits per second. And one of the questions I fully anticipate someone asking in the next few minutes is, but okay, so at the moment it's certified to 400 megabits per second. What can it really do, Neil? What can it really do? Now, I can't tell you because I'm not privy to what Verizon's going to do in the future. But I will tell you that a couple of years ago, my executive vice president and I, we stood in 2 separate locations, one in Texas and one in Nevada, with direct line of sight within a few hundred yards. And we were able to download on a regular smartphone 2 gigabits per second. So we know that the capacity is a lot, the potential capacity is a lot higher that's on offer at the moment. So the world's your oyster. And the great thing as well is that with these kinds of boxes, if your customer installs these kind of boxes with the external antenna, in the future, they could upgrade without having to get new equipment, okay, to the very, very best of my knowledge, okay? So we know that it can carry a lot more traffic. But then again, let me backtrack, we really don't need the extra bandwidth at the moment. I described to you earlier on that it's a bit of a marketing ploy to make us think we need more. Truly, we don't at the moment. But it's just reassuring to know that you can get, if necessary, higher speeds in the future. Okay. I think you had another question for me, Brady.
Yes, yeah, Neil. Just hypothetically, like, what happens if there's a failure there? Like, let's say the cell tower loses its electricity.
Thank you for asking that, and I think I'll stop sharing this. I think we've looked at this enough just now. Yeah, so what happens if there's a failure, if a cell tower loses electricity? Well, all cell towers have either a generator or a backup battery, or both, okay? And by the way, 911 service will always continue to be prioritized, yeah? But I don't know if everybody knows this, so quick public safety broadcast, if you like. Every single smartphone that is sold in the US will always try to connect you to 911, yeah? And they're using every single service provider and every single wavelength. So if you can think back to the slide I was showing you just a moment or two ago with LTE, a C-band, millimeter wave, etc., and of course, all of the providers, like T-Mobile, AT&T, and of course Verizon, they're using slightly different frequencies for their service. So one of the things that's kind of like surprised me, I've seen several movies and television shows where someone who's in big trouble looks at the phone and they see no bars, yeah, and they don't try to call 911. Well, the thing is, if they try to text or call 911, that phone will start going through every single network, every single frequency, 5G, 4G, trying to connect it. So please tell your friends, tell your children, if they're ever in trouble, they should still try to dial 911 using, every single, and the phone will try and use every single wavelength. But Brady, to answer your question, if the cell tower does go dark, okay, if the cell tower does go dark, this wireless router, whichever brand, whichever one it is, will fail over to the next cell tower that's in range. And I've tested this myself personally. It'll try to connect you on the same bandwidth that you're already paying for. So, for example, if you are on mid-band, paying for 200 megabits per second, and that cell tower's battery runs down, or whatever, yeah, it will try to connect to the next cell tower over at the same rate of 2 megabits per second. But let's say that the tower is more than 2 miles away, or if it can't connect, at that speed, it'll automatically connect at the LTE speed, say at 50 megabits per second. So it's maintaining your business continuity.
And I think maintaining business continuity, in many cases, that's absolutely clutch. Neil and Corey, thank you so much for the presentation. Really illuminating stuff. If you don't have anything else, I think we could get into some questions that people have sent in.
Please, absolutely.
Okay. So let me remind you guys before we start this part of the discussion, don't forget you can use the Q&A tab there on the bottom of the screen, and that's how your questions can be sent to Neil and Corey. First up, this person wants to know, what exactly is CTT?
Cell tower technology is to reinforce the idea to people that wireless connects to the cell tower or to the cell node. It's not Wi-Fi, it's not other forms of radio. So we need to clarify this. And in the future, I'm sure we're going to have nodes all over the place, and people will have a choice often of connecting to a cell node using CTT or to Wi-Fi if it's supplied. So we'll see hybrid arrangements around our cities as time moves forward.
All right. Same person here wants to know, what are some of the advantages of using cell tower technology over, say, some of the older technologies that are out there?
Oh dear. Older technologies. Well, I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have any methods for connecting to data, if you like. Let me think. I mean, Wi-Fi is limited. At the moment, one has to be in or near to the building. I mean, our own Wi-Fi, I've got Wi-Fi 6 here where I'm sitting just now, and it will extend outside the building, and actually I think it goes as far as 100 yards, would you believe? So it's pretty strong. But I mean, once you move away from the buildings with Wi-Fi, really, you only have one option. You really have one option, unless you're going to pay for some kind of sat phone or such like, which is incredibly expensive. Could you clarify some more for me what the questioner is really asking me about here, Brady?
I mean, that literally is what they said. The advantage of
Okay.
cell tower technology over older tech.
Yeah.
I think
I see one that's just come in here just now.
Yeah. You want to handle that one?
Oh, no, please, would you read it out for the audience?
Sure, absolutely. So this person wants to know, why does 5G not perform as well as 4G? I guess that's a subjective question, but is that because of the network not being built out yet, or is it
okay?
Marketing gimmick, in your opinion?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, yes, I have to be careful what I say about marketing here. Marketers do love to spin things. So thank you for the question. I think you're talking about the original 5G being built onto the 4G system. So the original 5G, and I'm not going to give a specific name just now, the original 5G, if you like, not C-band, yeah, not millimeter wave, not ultra wideband. Yeah, that 5G was really just a marketing term when a few extra bells and whistles were added on to 4G. Now, there have been instances in the past where people have been able to connect to one of the faster data lines, if you like, but for some reason there's been no traffic. No traffic actually. Although you're connected, nothing's coming and going. I believe these problems have been fixed over a year ago. That may be to what you're referring, but you know, certainly if one can connect either data, you know, or on a smartphone to C-band, mid-band, or a high-band millimeter wave, you're going to get a fantastic service.
Okay, very good. So this person wants to know maybe some of like the time and cost saving considerations that are involved in all of this. Like, can you really save time and cost with this?
Well, the thing to remember is that if someone is going to pay for wireline, if wireline's not already there, I want to reiterate something I said at the beginning, Grady. If your customer or you already has a wireline connection, and by the way, I'm recommending Verizon Fiber, but I mean, if you've already got a wired connection to the building, you should connect to it because it's not going to cost anything. But if you're talking about having wire brought down, like I showed in my earlier slides, the wire brought out to the building with trenching or hanging between the lampposts, you know, that's a 5-figure sum you're going to have to pay up front, and there's months and months of waiting. If you already have one of these in your office, you can be connected and up and running today. If you don't already have one, we'll get one to you, or you can sell one, drop ship. If you are a channel partner, you don't need to have an inventory. Yeah, you can call up, for example, you can call up Verizon, you can sell the service to your business customer, and it will be drop shipped to them within 48 hours. They plug it in the wall, the light flashes for 30 or 45 seconds, and bam, you've got a connection. And again, with these boxes, there are various boxes do just 4G, but these particular boxes will do 4G or 5G. So if they're out in the middle of the country, they're going to be able to get 50 megabits per second, or 25 or 10, or whatever suits their business needs. If within range of one of the towers offering mid-band, they're going to be able to get somewhere in the region of 100 to 200 megabits per second. I mean, that's just fantastic. So there's no cost to connect. There's no upfront cost. So it's so very, very much cheaper.
All right. And let me remind everybody once again that the Q&A tab at the bottom, the icon right there, that's how you interact with Corey and Neil right now. So this person wants to know what sizes of companies and verticals are really best for CTT?
Yeah, well,
companies and verticals.
Yeah, for these particular solutions, we're talking about small to medium-sized businesses with these numbers of people that I mentioned earlier on. We're talking, you know, 50, less than 25 people would be ideal. A little bit higher if you're in range of one of the cell towers that's offering millimeter wave. So if you get line of sight, like I said, and you have this external antenna now, 400 megabits per second, and you can have 50 plus people in your business that are able to have a great internet connection, a great network connection.
All right. And I believe this is somewhat being covered, but this person wants to know about technologies that work well with CTT. He lists in particular like IoT, remote video, internet, VoIP. Anything else of note?
Well, I mean, Corey already gave us so many interesting examples, but I mean, IoT just is one subset. IoT is exploding because it saves all these truck rolls. It even saves somebody having to go out and look at the side glass. And IoT applies to just about, you know, any kind of situation. It isn't just, he talked about vibration monitoring. So for example, if there's a piece of machinery and the vibration changes, you know, one can use predictive analytics to know that a particular part is going to fail in 6 months or 3 months. So you can build into the calendar when you're going to shut down the piece of equipment and, you know, change out the spare part to save it ever having an unplanned breakdown, that sort of thing. If it comes to emptying somebody's sump, you know, the IoT can measure that it's reached a particular level. So now we know that we're going to have to go and suck out everything from the sump, or vice versa. If someone's out in the country and using, say, oil for oil heating, yeah, it can let know when it's going to, become empty soon, and then the truck. So instead of somebody having to drive out there and read a meter, IoT can tell people. And I mean, that's nice. That little reminder to me that cell tower technology works out in the sticks. It works out in rural areas, whereas wireline cannot do that. Wi-Fi cannot do that. The only way to connect, out in these regional, actually, there's two ways to connect. There's two ways to connect. The IoT works really, really well with cell tower technology.
All right.
And Neil, to add on to that, I would
Yeah.
also like to mention specific vertical, right? The one that comes to mind, just because ConectUS has a lot of involvement, is in auto racing, right? And honestly, anything vehicle, right? When you're thinking racing performance, right? You want to be the best. You want to take all data, analytics. There are so many sensors put into these vehicles now that measure everything down to the finest science. Think long-term for every business vertical, right? For performance, you want to evaluate, hey, how are my drivers on the road doing? How are my employees in office? Are they being productive enough? Are they not being productive enough? There are so many additional values that IoT brings to the table that CTT can obviously power that and help generate performance and obviously additional ROI and time involvement.
Moving on from IoT as well, I mean, Corey's reminding me, Brady, of course, when we're talking about moving around, I like to use the term mobility here, many businesses move a kiosk around. They can be in a different location, this weekend as to the next weekend, and they want to make sales. So they can plug in their POS device, their credit card device, and they have instant connectivity with one of these. And indeed, they can be driving some advertisements. They could have a couple of video billboards outside, yeah, and they could be switching the billboards using IoT technology or remote technology as well. And indeed, you're already seeing some by the freeways. In the old days, of course, some poor fella had to climb up with the wallpaper paste up high in the ladders, need to put up the posters beside the freeway. Nowadays, you see these great big LED boards, and these LED boards are reprogrammed using IoT. So either, you can have a different ad this week, the different ad next week remotely, or you can be rotating them on a regular basis as people are driving down the freeway. So, the sky's the limit when it comes to using connected wireless cell tower technology.
Really, really interesting and smart stuff, guys. I believe that's going to do it for the questions today. And by the way, if you're hanging on for the Motorola giveaway, just give it like a few more minutes. We're almost there. But before we go, would you be able to remind our attendees how they can reach out to ConectUS if they want to follow up or learn a little bit more?
Let me share just another couple of screens, please, Brady.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good. Try and move this out of the way. I'm not sure if you can see this part or not. So if you are a small to medium-sized business or smaller enterprise, come and look and see how we can help you. We've got these trusted advisors who are vetted and trained, educated by us. We do all the background checks. They're only allowed to represent us. They're only allowed to be our agents or partners if they've passed particular tests, if you like. We've vetted them very, very thoroughly. We trust them, so you can trust them as well. So go to cpnzone.com. cpnzone.com. Now, if you are a channel partner and you're thinking to yourself, this is a great opportunity to start selling to these rural or these SMBs just outside the city limits, and you've been stuck up until now, this is a new revenue stream for you. Come and visit with us at ConectUS.com. Be careful though, ConectUS has got one N, so it's ConectUS.com, ConectUS.com. Oh, and you can see up on the screen just now, here's a contact form. If you prefer to call us, please do. But if you use this contact form, we promise to get back to you real soon. And we can start a conversation without obligation. Okay. Thank you, Brady.
Of course, yeah. Are we ready to give away the smartphone?
Absolutely.
Smartphones. Apologies.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got the list right here, and we're going to put it in the random generator. And it looks like first up, we have Aramis Alexander. That's the first.
Congratulations, Aramis.
Yeah, Aramis Alexander. And the second one is Joanne Scully. And Neil, I'll send these to you privately so that you can reach out to them.
Fantastic. Thank you. Just let everybody know, here are the two. They are Motorola Edge 5G ultra wideband. And that means that these phones can both connect on these much, much higher speeds that I mentioned earlier on. So they can connect to your regular 4G and 5G, but also to the millimeter wave and to the C band, the mid band as well. So we'll make sure they come to both of you. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. And that is going to do it for today's webinar. Absolutely fascinating stuff. Thank you guys so much for the time. Thank you in particular to Connect. This is Neil Farquharson and as well as Corey Hinkle. Thank you, gentlemen, both for your time today.
Thank you, Brady. Pleasure.
Thank you for having us, Brady. Appreciate it.
Of course. Before we go, I just a couple more quick hits.
Sure.
I want to let everyone know that by attending this webinar, you're automatically enrolled in the Channel Vision Webinar Rewards Program. You may have won one of our monthly drawings. For information on the program and to see what kinds of prizes you may win, you can visit our website, channelvisionmag.com/webinar-rewards. And remember, you can access this webinar as well as all other Channel Vision presentations on demand. Just visit our website at channelvisionmag.com. Also a reminder, it seems so far down the pike, but it's going to come up so fast for us. Our good friends at ConectUS, always a huge presence there. CVX Expo 25. It returns for the 4th year, November 3rd through 5th, at a new location. We've signed a 3-year agreement with Marriott Renaissance Hotel and Spa in Glendale, Arizona. Very exciting stuff and lots of great opportunities with that. In addition to the new digs and expanded show floor, CVX Expo will include newly added elements to make the partner event even more productive and enjoyable. This includes a new AI demo cafe located directly on the expo hall. The AI demo cafe will provide a neutral and welcoming space for attendees to watch live demos of AI-enabled solutions and technologies presented by CVX Expo exhibitors and sponsors, and discuss strategies for marketing and selling those solutions. CVX Expo attendees and exhibitors include, but are not limited to, independent agents and TSDs, MSPs, resellers, and IT solution providers, trusted advisors and consultants, wholesale communications providers, cloud solution providers, business IT and security providers, partner enablement and service providers. And of course, for more information, be sure to visit cvxexpo.com. Once again, ConectUS. Corey and Neil, thank you so much for the time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Brady.
Of course. And from all of us at Channel Vision Magazine and our good friends at ConectUS Wireless Communications, take care. Thanks for attending. Be good to one another. Bye-bye.